Hello, this is Metroid NES, circa 1986. I'll be playing for a while today. This is the first time I've played in several years. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much the game has changed from my old perspective, especially from when I was a kid. Because I did play this game back in, I guess, the early 90s, but god damn. You know, back then I wasn't much for the exploration. And Metroid, is nothing but. You're just wandering around, you're shooting stuff, wander, shoot. Back then, especially with a game like this, it's not very visually interesting. I mean, not compared to, I don't know, like a GTA. You know, your GTA 3, which it's 3D, it's got voice acting, it's got sound effects, it's got a lot going on. And Metroid NES just couldn't compare. So we're going to play through, or I'm going to play through, and we're going to see how it goes. Oh, and the purpose of this playthrough on my end is I'm making a game like this. You know, I've been working in the industry for a while, and I decided, it's time I make my own game. A hobby game, nothing I'm going to sell, but I'm going to make something, and it's going to be like Metroid, a Metroidvania as they call them now. Because Castlevania being the other major franchise that uses this sort of gameplay, or game design, rather. So we'll see how it goes. Let's just start it up and get going. So right away, start and continue. See, right away I love the simplicity. Like you saw that menu, it had almost nothing going on, right? You've got grassy floor, you've got stars in the background, you've got the title, done and done. You click start once, or hit start once, and now you're at this menu, start and continue. And that's it. It's beautiful. At least compared to games they make these days, right? Because things have just got more complicated. You have your options, you have visual settings, audio settings, you've got your extras, you've got your start and continue over here. There's just a lot more there compared to what it used to be. Let's in continue, let's take a look. Oh, it's a password game. That's rough. These were not my favorite, mainly because with these, you fuck up one letter or one something somewhere, and it's over. You're done. But, I'm probably not going to continue today. We'll see. For now, let me just back out of here. How the hell do I do that? Start. Oh, they just send you right into the game if you mess it up. That's kind of lazy, but whatever. So there I am. I'm in the game. Now, so yeah, I definitely played this back in the day, and this is really familiar. I remember this first area very well, because I probably wandered around here the most, just trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do in this game. Yep, and there goes the first... Oh, hold on a second, let me go back. Oh, they don't let you go back from here. So that's interesting. They force you, if you wander in here, they force you in, or they cage you in. There's no way out. Which means that the only way you're gonna get out is to touch this little glowing orb thing. Before I got here, though, I wanted to comment on the art style. That's another thing that appeals to me about Metroid specifically. Is I won't say it's simple, because I'm sure it takes a lot of effort to put this all together and make it look good, but it's relatively simple compared to even your Castlevanias. I mean, if you play a Castlevania game on NES, the backgrounds are just much more varied. You've got inside of mansions, you've got rotting castles, you've got forests and dark nights and all sorts of things going on in the back. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. More visually interesting for the player. But I'm also kind of on the lazy end in that I don't want to have to spend a lot of time on art. Because I have X bandwidth, right? I am one person putting together a game. The scope of the game I don't even know yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But for now, let's just go with it. It's one guy making a game like Metroid, or like Castlevania. If it's just me doing stuff on my own, there's a huge bottleneck there. And that I have to draw every single background. And I don't know, that to me, this doesn't seem like the right investment of time for someone for whom it's his first game. And it would be my first sort of developed game. And so that leads me back to this, what we're looking at here, this black background. It's very simple, straightforward. The tiles that make up the walls and the ceiling and the floor, and all the objects in the environment. That's it. So it would just be a matter of, on my end, making the tiles, laying them out, and not even worrying about the background. So, whatever I do, it's probably not going to be as crazy as a Castlevania. So, more like this. Alright, let's pick this up. So here, what I've done is, or what they've done, is they've just trained the player. And that's a big part of game design. I'm not a game designer. I had that caveat. But here, they've just trained the player on how to play this game. Right? They don't tell you. They don't have a tutorial screen. They don't have instructions and words and arrows saying push left to go left, push right to go right. Which some games these days, you know, I can see where they need them. A lot of games I don't think need them. They could really go overboard because they don't want people to get confused, and because they're so scared of that, of people not knowing what to do immediately. They just throw in those tutorials. And that's where I kind of love these old games, because they didn't take your hand and say, "Come along, little Billy, we're gonna play through this game, and we'll show you exactly what to do with every step of the way." You know, it's simple, comparatively simple. So here, no tutorial. You know, you kind of load into that area I was in before, over here, and you have a controller. And the NES controller was pretty simple, so you press up and down, left and right. And by this time, I think you had your Marios and other games that had already come out, so the side-scrolling platformer was already established. So I'm sure a lot of people, they see something like this and they already know, alright, you know, the D-pad's going to move me around, and then the B and the A button are going to do something. Let's find out. Oh, that's shoot. Oh, that's jump. And oh, if I hit those spiky bug-looking dudes, I'm going to get hurt, so I should avoid them. And that's, you're training the player in those ways. It's like you're learning anything else. Right? You're in a new environment. The environment teaches you. They don't tell you. So yeah, so they establish controls in the very beginning. They tell you, all right, see this little guy. Anything else that moves, shoot it. And it's kind of a simple game design approach. Personally, I want to eventually get to a point where I can make games that aren't shooters, you know, because shooters, I mean, there are lots of reasons not to like shooters, but for the most part, they're getting boring. They're losing interest, or my interest anyway, just because it's the same fucking thing over and over. And I'd like to see something else, you know, but that's down the line. For now, I am making a shooter. It's definitely, it's based on the Dead Space franchise, so I'm making like a fan game, and that game is most definitely a shooter. All you're doing is shooting off zombie limbs and such, so the Metroid-like game I'll be making is definitely going to be a shooter. What's the last aspect here? Oh yeah, so if you wander left, you get the orb, and now you've learned, alright, those glowing orbs are going to give you power-ups. So if I ever see one again, you know, go for it. Alright, oh, now I'm learning about these bat dudes. It's interesting, you know, around this time, scores were a big thing. Like, you played a game to get a score. Even Mario Brothers, you know, I mean, the main point, the goal was save the princess, but you still got a score. And I hadn't noticed before, but yeah, this game doesn't have scores. There's nothing obvious. It's interesting. here they're showing you right away that there are going to be areas you cannot access. No matter what you do, when you first see it, you just can't get there. But now you know, alright, there's something down there, and I can't get in now, but I wonder if I can get in later. So that's, what you call that in literature? Foreshadowing. They are foreshadowing what's going to happen. Quite interesting, yes. Oh man, and now they're showing you they're not going to mess around. You know, so they just showed you how to play the game, and now they're telling you, alright, you know, we're not going to take it easy on you, you better get ready to face a lot of enemies. And that was what ultimately caused me to stop playing this when I was a kid. Too many enemies, you know. I just remember dying a lot. And in some games, you know, they're poorly designed so that you can't shoot down. That sucks. That's gonna irk me a lot, I can tell right now. And I can't shoot down at an angle. Shoot the short, the little porcupine guys right in front of me. And duck. This is interesting that they give this character weird powers like this. I'm not sure if this is the only one of this sort that manipulates the character's size and abilities like that. It's a good way to introduce puzzles, though. Or quote-unquote puzzles. Puzzles for a side-scroller from the NES in '86. Oh, this part. I think this is usually about the time I give up. Just because I was either dying too much or it just wasn't interesting. I'd start to lose interest around going up this thing. It's because I think it doesn't go on forever, but it seemed to when I was young. Let's see. This dude. Doing really good on health. Like I remember losing Jinx. Total Jinx. That's what I get. Okay. And what else is interesting is sound. Like these guys. They're indestructible, so they get their own little blink sound. One way to sort of guide the player, like shoot the porcupine or the urchins or whatever they are, you get one sound. Shoot these indestructible metal deals, you get a different sound. It's something to consider. That's interesting. They freeze the characters so that you can stop moving when they're not in your view. I wonder if, for the game I'm building, I'm going to be using something called Construct 2. I already bought the license after I checked it out for a while. It's definitely an introductory tool, I'd say, but it also seems powerful enough for, I'd say even pro designers, if they just wanted to make a side-scrolling platformer. It seemed to have a lot of flexibility. Oh, so much for that health I was posting about. Here we go. See, this guy I can't shoot down. Oh, it really sucks. The game I have in mind, based on Dead Space, I'll see if I can shoot down at an angle, because he's not going to be rolling up into a ball. The game I have in mind. Why Dead Space? I think I said earlier I worked on Dead Space, the franchise. I worked on Dead Space 2 and 3. I think on 2 I was the test lead formally, and on Dead Space 3 I suppose it was just a tester. It was technically called QA analyst, but I was testing, so I was a tester on that one. And yeah, those games, they were great projects. Like, the teams were awesome. You know, by that point, by the time of the second and third ones, I'd been at EA for a while, so, you know, I had a lot of friends there, and I'd seen the first game in development. I was testing literally 10 feet away from the Dead Space team, you know, when that game was in. So I got to, you know, check it out and see what it's all about. And it was cool, but I didn't get to work on the first one. I did get to work on the second and third. I started thinking, you know, that time from Dead Space 2 to Dead Space 3, that was a hell of a time in my life. Interesting note here, change in colors. Same tiles and everything, just different color. It's a good idea actually, because I mean the level design is pretty simple. So if you're gonna differentiate different areas of this complex, of this underground alien complex, then what are you gonna do? You change the colors up. It's simple, but again, I'm definitely going for simple as far as the art goes, because I don't want to get too bogged down in the design of that. Anyway, so yeah, the two Dead Spaces, that was a hell of a time in my life. It was pretty tumultuous. I decided, you know, I think I required closure to things, and I thought, you know, how the hell can I cap that off? That whole time, that period of several years when I worked on those two. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could work on the first game somehow? You know, obviously Dead Space is done and done. There's nothing else to do with it. So I figured, alright, well, what if I just do my own Dead Space 1 thing and go from there? You know, sort of use that as the bookend to those years. That's when I came up with the thought of, originally I was thinking of making an actual Dead Space for NES, meaning learning assembly language, which is what they use for NES game, to program NES games, and building an actual game that I could put on a cart, you know, something physical that I could put on a cartridge and sort of hold and say, you know, here you go, Dead Space 1, I did this. Dead Space 1 for NES, the Lost Port or something. I gave that up right away, because what I've learned again and again, even when I try, is I'm not a programmer at all. I should say that's another advantage of Construct 2, is because I'm not a programmer, I don't have to fuck around with all that programmery stuff, you know? I mean, I have a lot of respect for those guys. What programmers do and computer engineers, it's magic. You know, it's all magic. So I'm definitely not ragging on those dudes, but yeah, I'm not gonna do it. So Construct 2, it's a tool set, you know, it's a pre-built engine essentially, which gives you the tools to do what you gotta do. Without programming. Oh, look at this. A glowing thing, but it's not an orb. They've just taught me something else. They've taught me that the glowing orb gave me that rolling up power. But then I found this new power in the shape of like a missile or something. It looks like it's already equipped, whatever it is. I like the look of this area. It's more interesting. Like the first area was blue and sort of spacey. Nice the tiles were. Here, oh, that's not good. And I can jump out and didn't notice. Wait, can I just sit? I can just sit here and spam these dudes for power-ups. Unless they're too high. It's interesting, they don't have health power-ups here. Big part of Dead Space... Oh, game over. A big part of Dead Space is the fact that you can carry health power-ups and ammo and that kind of stuff. So I'm wondering if it would make sense to do that for the NES version. But at the same time, I want to make it seem, oh, that's interesting. So if you pick up a power-up and you die, you get sent back, but you keep the power-ups. That is interesting. But anyway, yeah, they in Dead Space they have power-ups for health, for ammo, I think you can even maximize your health bar. Obviously, this doesn't have one. So I have to think about that. Do I want to include health power-ups, or do I want to make it seem more like Metroid, in that you have a limited amount of energy, and you have to pick it up along the way. There's no health packs. You just have to get more health as you go. And I've been thinking about that. Like, should I make Dead Space? I mean, I'm calling it Dead Space 1987 for now. So it seems to me that I ought to make it as if it was released in 1987, right? So, Metroid is not the only game I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to look around some more at various games and see what we can find. Get a good idea of the climate and the environment and what kinds of games were being made back then. This is just an example. But I will probably play a few more. Oh, I hate this fucking guy. The way he kind of slides along the ground like that. Shady. There he goes. Oh, and he can go through the little tunnels. That was fucked up. Back to where I was before. I hate that too. That's something with this game is once you get far enough, you feel like you've accomplished something, then you get game over, and then you have to go all the way back to where you were, not knowing if you were already at the end of the room or if there was more to explore in there. I'm trying to think if games still do that in any way. I mean, you can, with games where you save manually, I'm thinking of like your Resident Evil, if you die, you can just load up a save and go right back to where you were. But a game like this is just so small, relatively. You know, I just realized I don't know how to switch weapon. Oh, there it is. So, oh, they changed his colors. Because I've been thinking about how to present weapons in Dead Space. Because in Dead Space, in the game, in the 3D one, you carry different weapons. You have very clear visual indication that you have a different weapon equipped. Because they all look different. It looks like in this game, all they do is switch out the colors of the suit. Not even all the colors, just looks like a few odds and ends in the gun itself. And that would be easier, for sure. But I don't know if it would fit for Dead Space, because it's supposed to be like an engineer, and he's supposed to be very mechanically inclined, so how would they do that? I guess palette swaps? There's different palettes that each have different gun types. I mean, in my limited experience with my own development, that's all I can think of is just to swap out the palette. I'm sure some engineer, some game design type could tell you, oh, well, you could probably just switch out the gun itself and not the whole character. And I'll figure that out as I go. Now we're just bullshit. Exploring. Another aspect of Metroid that I like for my purposes is the way it's designed. Because another thing I was considering early on, or still considering, it's still early on. I just declared that I'm going to make the game last weekend. Another thing that came to mind was, how do I break out the levels? How do we? Is it going to be a straight shooter like a Contra where you just go forward and kill dudes and you never go back, or is it going to be like this where you wander around back and forth and uncover power-ups and more doors? And I mean, the Dead Space game, if if you look at Dead Space, every one of them, well, you know, the games or the inspiration for those games must have come from like Dead Space. Obviously, the most direct link is Resident Evil 4 to the original Dead Space. It's like Resident Evil 4 in space, essentially. That's the most direct inspiration, but really, if you think about it, all those games are in turn inspired by games like this, in which you have an open environment you can wander around in, you know, lots of enemies to deal with, a sense of isolation, and then they also incorporate, obviously, elements from adventure games, which, you know, what game doesn't these days? As far as the story, and the narrative, and dialogue, and examining objects and exploration and all that. But adventure games are definitely another big aspect. Oh, you know what else sucks about this game? Remembering which doors you've already been through. Like, was this the door I went through before? I don't think it was. I think last time I went straight through the first door I found, not this one. So let's see where this goes. Bat dude, search and news. Alright, why? I just noticed I'm not getting more ammo. I picked up I don't know how many of those missile power-ups. Yeah, there you go. Wait, this looks familiar. Maybe I did go in here already. Huh, I wonder what the max health is. Like, they cap you at 100 or something? Or 99? It's probably 99. Looks like this is another power-up area. Oh, this is the door I already went through. Shit. See, that's another lesson I learned before, right? Is, oh man, I fell in the lava. Most games, you die in the lava. You're not coming back out. I'm thinking of like Mega Man, right? That very dramatic pew, 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 pew. You know, when you're dead, you're dead. There's no getting out of that. But, yeah, so they taught me that lesson here is that you fall in the lava, you can jump your ass back out. And Samus has a spacesuit equipped, so I guess that makes sense. Actually, that's something else to point out about the simplicity of this game. The game never tells you who this is. Right? They throw you in the game as this sort of spacesuit, spacesuit-wearing, gun-wielding dude. Because you don't even know if it's a... Like, I know by now, I think most gamers know that Samus is a woman. They never tell you that in the game. I mean, you get that very simple story screen in the beginning that kind of sets it up and tells you, alright, why are you out there? And it's a very alien sort of story that you have to go out to this planet to losing a lot of health. Not getting much back. Now here we are, this is where I was talking before, isn't it? Yeah, it's very sparse. They don't tell you much about this character at all. So you just kind of... Just the silent protagonist approach. They have to be silent. Interesting. Here's another... These tiles are different, it looks like, for the most part, and it's a different color. Then there's a... elevator. Alright, that's fucking cool. Just this sort of transition. Oh, where is this? Alright, this is Alien. Like, up there, you know, it had a very industrial look. The blue and the yellow, but it was all still sort of steel girders and rock. Here, they switched to, like, Alien design. This is awesome. And this totally fits into Dead Space, because in Dead Space you have sort of brown and gray and darkness and metal, you know, and old metal. Like the most of the ship in Dead Space, because you wander around a derelict spaceship, you know, it's got that very sort of industrial mining factory look to it. It's very gritty and dirty, but it's all metal. And then later, as you start to discover what's going on, they introduce the corruption to the people who get killed by the zombies. Their flesh gets incorporated into this gelatinous, fleshy mass that sort of takes over the walls of the ship. And yeah, and this is what's kind of happening here, is you go from a very specific environment to this environment, and the background is still black. That's what I like. I love that. But they switch out a few of the tiles and introduce a couple of new weirdos here, these statues. Oh, and dripping. That is awesome. Dripping like goo from the ceiling of these platforms. So this is a good inspiration for what I could do with the corruption when I get to that part of the game. 2 paths, I love that too. See, this is why the exploratory design of Metroid is more interesting than like a Contra for this game. For me, is choosing your path. That's always just way more fun because you don't know what's ahead. Oh, look at this fucking guy. Robot. Alright, these guys are getting a lot tougher. I think they're trying to encourage me to use different powers, perhaps? Oh, man. I don't have much hope for what's ahead. Oh, lava. Let's see. Jump. Jump. Oh. Oh, I thought there is a power up ahead. Alright, as long as this guy doesn't touch me, I'm alright. I learned a few basic enemy control behaviors in Construct 2 recently. Oh, I totally missed that health and lost some in the process. One thing I don't like about Oh! So each of these power-ups bumps up my max number of missiles. So select switches you out. Alright, let's try some of these. Oh, no. I just wasted 2. On the dude who can't be killed. Alright, now why introduce this little area here if you're not going to do anything? Let's not waste any more of those. Oh, I'm done. 2 points of health. That's it. And I'm dead. Balls. Alright, but let's see if... Oh, they have teleportation points. That's even more interesting. I never knew this. So I guess if I had been a bit more patient when I was a kid, I would have discovered that they have these continue points where you can just continue from there. Alright, so that missile's still going to be there. Let me go pick it up. Oh, they don't reset your ammo. That's weak. That's really... I already picked it. I just forgot and realized that, yeah, I already have the power up. I don't have to go back for it. That's fucking cool, by the way. That you're not punishing the player for a game over by making them start all over again. I totally didn't realize this before. Oh, bricks. That's a new look. Can't shoot down. Again, that's annoying. Oh, look at this fucker. It's gonna cause trouble. And he took 10 points of health. Jesus. Come on now. Don't get up on me like that. Alright, so far I like this area. It's pretty straightforward. Until this thing. It looks like, I don't know what that is. Oh, interesting. You can shoot these. And that wasn't enough. And they regenerate. Oh, I'm dead. I'm fucking dead. That's it. Let's just get as far as we can. Oh. I'm not fucking around with these levels. Another vertical chamber. Shit. At some point I should stop and look at a full map of Metroid, because I'm sure this whole game is just sprawling. The levels are pretty simplistic. I mean, platforms, enemies that kind of stick to their platforms and do their thing. So that is a question for me, is do I want to implement some sort of save system? I think Construct 2 has the save system already built into it, so it's probably not even a question of whether or not I should do it. Probably more a question of at what points should I save the game for the player. And I like the idea of having these continue points, like these statues, where you can pick up from where you left off, or the last checkpoint you reached, like this one. So I'll probably do that. Oh, just wasted more missiles, didn't I? Yes, I did. Oh, man. One aspect of Dead Space and many games that I'm missing right now is a store. Like knowing a specific place where I can go back to collect health or to buy health. Because right now, man, this is like having to start with 30 again every time and not being able to sort of stock up. That makes sense, though. I mean, in this context, it makes sense because, you know, what kind of store you can find in an inhospitable alien world. Dead. Well, this is not entertaining. Do this, but I'm gonna have to use some missiles. Ooh, one shot. I like that. I definitely like it if they're gonna keep giving me more ammo power-ups every time I kill one of those dudes. Let's keep these equipped for now. Ooh. And that guy doesn't die. Missiles for that. Oh, no. So that's interesting how they introduced this. I need to duck more. I keep forgetting to duck. Oh, that's the thing with me in shooter games like this. I quickly forget that you can do stuff like dodge enemies, you know, because I have a gun. You know, if I have a gun, I'm going to shoot the gun. That's how it is. Alright, here I already went to the bottom and there was a door. I got my ass kicked down there, but let me try it one more time. Another note is the enemies. Now they did change when I got to the new area, but they really haven't. Like the little urchin guys are still the little urchin guys. Maybe they have more health and they take longer to kill, but they're the same thing. They just swap out the palettes, you know, the look. They introduce a couple of variants of it, and that's it. Same with the guys that are flying. I'm pretty sure that's the same behavior as the bat dudes in the early game. War missiles. This is Metroid. You know, when I was a kid, I called the character Metroid. Just like every game. Like when I played Legend of Zelda, I thought the character's name was Zelda. Right? Because you're playing as this little green character, and the game's called Legend of Zelda, so that must be Zelda. And I'm playing this game that's called Metroid, so the character I play as must be called Metroid. Oh. No. So yeah, when I was a kid, you know, the dudes in Contra were named Contra. This character was named Metroid. The Legend of Zelda, you played as Zelda, which I think would have been interesting. Like back then, they didn't give a shit about, you know, options of that sort to have different characters. But I think it would have been interesting if they had the option of, I don't know, playing as Zelda. Hey, you saved Zelda. Now you get to play as Zelda and do other stuff, or play as Zelda for the Adventure 2. Because after you defeated or completed The Legend of Zelda, you could go back for what's it called? Oh, Master Quest. I think it was Master Quest, where you replayed the game, but they swapped out the puzzles and the locations of items, and it was more difficult. So just to give you more something to play, replayability. You know, it would have been interesting if they let you play as Zelda. Hey, you saved Zelda. Now Zelda's got to do something else. Oh, come on. That's a tease. Cruel, cruel tease. Alright, I'm tired of dying down there. I'm gonna try something else. Go the other way and see what's up here. Oh, what? Don't tell me there's some kind of jump power up I have to collect. Maybe I have to do this jump? Oh, balls. I'm pretty sure I can't jump on this dude. He's gonna kill me. Well, from the side, he definitely did. Alright, try again. Oh, I haven't learned my lesson. Use the fucking missiles. Son of a bitch. Urgh. Ooh, that was sweet. Some dodging there. I'd say it's a big aspect of game design to keep in mind is rewarding the player. So now that I'm better, supposedly, you know, at this game, I've learned how to dodge enemies, you know, like a ninja. Like a spacefaring ninja of some sort. Like that. Oh, that dude hit me, but the first dude there. So that makes you feel, you know, powerful. It makes you feel like you're getting somewhere, like you're learning something. Like, hey, I can dodge enemies now. And I know I can't go up there, so I need to go down this way. There's probably some power up down there that's gonna boost up my jump or something. If I can get to the end. And maybe I can if I kill these fuckers. Oh, you're kidding me, dudes. Oh, that was fucked up. That was fucked up. Now, am I out of missiles? I wasted quite a few there. Probably am. 3 missiles left. Son of a bitch. Well, let's just go on and figure out what to do now. Missile. No. Dead. Missile's gone. That, I think, is a little too punishing. Not to replenish missiles after death. Something to keep in mind. It's challenging, and I'll give him that. And you know, the goal of any of these games is to make them last. Because you want people to buy the game, to play it for as long as possible, while you work on your next game. Because, you know, it's going to take a while to do that. Oh, damn. So what you do is you make your game challenging, and go from there. And I mean, this is all based off arcade game design. Like back then, games were supposed to be challenging in the arcade, that you use up as many quarters as possible. They don't want to make it. They don't want to have you beating the game with 1 quarter. I mean, that's they're not gonna get their money, right? They're like the mob. They're gonna get their fucking money. So they're gonna keep you hooked on whatever it is they're selling, so that you keep coming back for more. In this case, hooked on 1 game, so you'll come back for more games later. Why is this dude not jumping as high as he used to? I wonder if that's a bug or if they vary the behaviors on each load. So each time you load the enemy, they just change the way the behavior works. Jump higher. Ooh. Oh. Forced out. Beat up. I'm dead. Super dead. Deader than dead things dead. Another note about the art design. I already talked about the tiles, how the drastic change, you know, helps change the mood. But these little statue guys kind of introduce some mystery. Like, who are they? You know, what am I looking at there? Obviously, it's some sort of pointy-eared Cyclops alien. But you know, what is that about? Am I gonna meet those guys? Am I gonna have to fight them? Curious. Quite curious. That's cool. The fact that you can kind of freeze them mid-air. No missiles, though. What the fuck? Alright, I can kill these guys and see if they give me any missiles. That's probably where I've been fucking up earlier, is I'm not killing these little dudes. Or pretty simple targets. Now, there we go. In fact, that's exactly what I should have been doing, is killing these guys. Two whole missiles. Fucking thank you. Ah, there we go, there we go. Oh yeah, dude, this is... I was complaining about no stores, but if they have areas like this is all you need. It's a fucking smorgasbord over here. Smorgasbord. How do you pronounce that? Smorgasbord? It's a smorgasbord up in here. This is great. I love it. I love everything about it. Shoot. We can't shoot that guy because he's too low. Who's gonna be first? There's this one. And then this guy. Although I think I'm gonna be too close. There you go, you bastard. Dude, look at that. 70 health, 6 missiles. And look at this guy, now he's jumping all the way to the ceiling. There's definitely something there. Oh. Alright, shoot. I shot those bricks out of order. It's gonna fuck me up. Let's just go with it. Not bad. Yeah, now I can't even believe that I skipped those guys. Something else with games that are designed a certain way is, you know, when you discover something, quote unquote discover, makes you feel good. You know, it gives you some of those warm vibes, those good feelings that rewards get you. So I just discovered that I could shoot the little aliens and get a lot of health and missiles out of it, and I'm rewarded with more health and missiles. And with the satisfaction of having discovered something new. I'd say adventure games are most famous for that, because, you know, when you solve a puzzle in a game like those old games, man, it's like the best. It's the best. Oh! That's something I don't like about these old games, is that you leave a screen for a while, and they introduce the guys respawn. Jump. Fucking dead. That's great. Alright, let's see. go. Man, I need to get that next power up. And now they've introduced the carrot. Right? I've been through enough areas now that I know if I go far enough, I'm gonna find some kind of power up. A missile power up or a glowing something or other. It's gonna encourage me to keep playing. Timing. Oh. Motherfucker, come on. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Alright, let's stock up, shall we? Some music. That's not music, that's the Wii menu. The shot menu, specifically. I heard it enough, man. I actually bought this game on the Wii recently for this stream, or for this recording. Both. And it was such a hassle to stream from my capture device to the computer that I said fuck it. Like this is an emulator. But hey, I own isn't that the ball, right? You own the game, and you can have a backup, digital backup like this. At least that's what the internet would have me believe, and the internet cannot be wrong. Jump. Don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, I'm dead. I'm fucking dead. It's over. Forget about it. Sink to your misery. Sink like Terminator. And this is where I'm not a very good streamer / let's play guy, because yeah, I haven't played this game for years, and I'm gonna die a lot. That cannot be interesting to watch. Plenty of missiles now, motherfucker. Oh, there you go. Back. Ah, damn it. Yeah, that. I think that was a limitation of the NES, maybe. That they had to. That enemies sort of. Whoa, what the hell did I just do? That was missiles. Missiles. Shoot this fucker. There we go. Sweet candy. I wonder if that's a term. Hobbyist game developer. You know, you have hobbyist toy makers, hobbyist, you know, computer engineers, all sorts of stuff, but I haven't really heard about hobbyist game developers yet. It seems like anybody who's making games wants to make money off it, and that's fine. You know, everyone's gotta make a living. And making games is a hell of a way to make a living, but you know, you don't hear much about. I guess they just don't use the term hobbyist developer, but there's certainly a lot out there. You know, just people making video games. Mostly the young folk, you know. I'll kind of be an old guy in the field of hobby game development, but at the old age of 30, back in my day, we played side-scrollers. None of this 3D nonsense. That's garbage. You kids are playing garbage. What is this? Oh. There you go, learning the patterns. But yeah, you know, you look around and the folks who are sort of making games for nothing, just kind of experimenting, tend to skew pretty young. But that's ageism on my part, I'm sure. There's lots of older folks making fine free games. Of course, the best part of being a hobby game developer is you're not investing your life savings or what have you into the game. You're just kind of working on it on the side, and you put the link out there eventually, and you say, hey, I made a game, check it out. And hopefully folks like it, you know, find it enjoyable. But yeah, I much prefer to have my day job in video games and make other games on my own time without the pressure. Because, yeah, deadlines and schedules and all that shit. And I'll sort of introduce that for myself with this game just to try to keep things on track. But, yeah, there's no financial pressure, you know. The studio's not going to fold if I don't finish this game on time. It's like, do it on my own time, finish it when it's finished, and put it out there and move on. So yeah, hopefully after this Dead Space remake game, I'll be working on something of my own. I've been wanting to work on an adventure game, but you know, those require writing, dialogue, and significant interaction design, and I just don't have that in me right now to write something crazy. I'm gonna write a lot of dialogue and stuff down the line, maybe. Down the line. Oh, this room. Missiles. 3 points of energy. Dead. Alright. I'm going to pause here for now. Maybe I'll stream some more Metroid later and take some more notes for myself. But for now, that is it.